Matthew, how are you?
I'm so good, Dominic. Nowhere I would rather be than hanging out with you right now.
Well, I mean, it turns out myself as well, especially because we pre-planned this.
Right.
Yeah. Nothing like pre-planning. Actually, that's kind of what we're going to talk about today is going into things intentionally. You're my guest here to talk about zero cost marketing.
And is it even possible? Well, I'm here to tell you, yes, it is.
Well, listen, I'm glad it is. I'm a big fan of low cost, high impact marketing. Big fan of that. And I think our listeners are as well. But Matthew, before we get started, who the heck are you? And why would you be speaking to this group of worldwide business owners who are in the construction and contracting trades?
Well, thank you very much for asking, Dominic. Very happy to earn the right to be here. I am the CEO of Book Yourself Solid Worldwide. I've been with the organization for 12 years. Prior to that, I used to own a recruitment services company, which sold very highly paid computer programmers to very large organizations. And prior to that, I worked in various sales jobs, including timeshare and direct response, door-to-door telephone and smoke signal sales. So I've been in sales for 20 years, and I've been helping small business owners, service business owners, including construction business owners, get booked solid for the last decade and a bit.
Well, you know how I came across you? Actually, I didn't come across you. I came to find you guys again is I was doing one of the training classes that I provide for this industry. And one of the things that we do is how to build your own elevator pitch. And I know you have an opinion on the elevator pitch wording, but people don't know how to introduce themselves very succinctly, like in a really short, impactful way. And I thought, why don't I call these guys? And so I picked up my book of my version of Book Yourself Solid, which I've had as one of my reference tools for years for building a business. I did the old look in the back, look up the author, all this stuff. And then you and I met, which is funny because it turns out we run in a lot of the same circles. We just haven't met yet. And here we are today.
Oh, well, the world is just full of people that you haven't met yet. And yeah, we do have a strong opinion on the elevator pitch. How you talk about what you do is absolutely critical to being able to book the business. If you talk about what you do in obscure terms, then you're not referable, and people can't say when they're standing behind you in the supermarket checkout line, "Oh, I'd love you to come and help me." If you say you work in interior architectural construction, post-modern implementation of Neolithic arches, then you're going to get a lot of blank stares. If you say, I help people have safe, secure, beautiful homes, then all of a sudden they're going to start talking to you about it. Right. And we believe that the elevator pitch is something that's been developed by venture capitalists to get you out of the room as quickly as possible. Oh. And in what circumstances do you have to use an elevator pitch? It's when somebody doesn't want to give you the time of day to actually have a conversation with you. So it's not that we're averse to the idea that you probably should have an elevator pitch. If a VC or a private equity company is standing in front of you waving a check for $2 million, then sure, by all means, drop your pants and give your elevator pitch. But generally, we are more inclined to help people have simple conversations. The idea behind zero cost marketing is that every time you meet somebody, that person can either become a client or more likely a referral partner. So if you help them understand that you make long-lasting driveways for large country houses, then they might say, well, I don't own a large country house, but my friend Bob does. You should speak to him. If you say I'm a bitumen specialist, then you're just going to get blank stares.
I love that. Bitumen. Tar. And I guess we call it bitumen here. Bitumen.
Well, I always, I speak the Queen's English, so across the other side of the Atlantic, you may have different terminology.
That's okay. You know what? As soon as we hear your accent, we feel smarter. That accent makes us all feel a little bit like, okay, this is good stuff.
Well, as a public speaker, Dominic, at least 50% of my fees are as a direct correlation of my accent, especially when I speak in North America. Well, especially when I speak in the United States, I can raise my fees by 50 to 100% the minute I open my mouth.
Hey, you should be careful because a lot of the people listening to this show are in industry associations and they might book you as a speaker, but now they know your secret.
Well, I tell you what, secret insider hint, I'm actually from Alabama, but I realized that everybody would pay a premium when they heard me speak with this voice.
Oh, you're a good fit for this show, I'll tell you that. So let's go back and confirm something. VC stands for venture capitalist. Some people on the show may not know what that is, and I want them to understand the context, everything that we're talking about. So when we talk about an elevator pitch, and you're gonna educate us on what the opposite of that is. Let me try my hand at the old version of what an elevator pitch is, because people may not have heard of that as well.
Sure.
And the story, as much as I've heard it, goes that you get into an elevator and, oh my goodness, standing next to me is the person I've been dying to meet for years and years. This is one person who could change the course of my business because they could buy something from me or sell something to me that I desperately need. And this is going to change everything. But all I have is a couple of floors of an elevator ride to talk to them. And so I need a quick, let's say 30-second or whatever it is, very, very short value proposition, something I say to them that's so captivating that they are dying to do business with me. That's an elevator pitch in my definition. Am I close?
Yeah, pretty close.
Pretty close. Well, tell me, how do we do this as a zero-cost marketing thing?
Well, the first thing, Dominic, I mean, the elevator pitch is, yes, you're absolutely right. You have a limited amount of time, typically under 2 minutes, to persuade somebody that what you've got is worth investing in. And our argument is that situation is entirely abnormal, almost hypothetical, unless you are in a situation where the ground rules, for example, a Shark Tank or a meeting with a venture capitalist firm who said, we're looking for investments. You've got 2 minutes to pitch us on why we should buy yours. I mean, it's so hypothetical as to be almost useless. I mean, when are you ever going to be in that situation? Unless you're perhaps at business speed dating or something like that. So let's say that you are at business speed dating or something like that. What we would encourage you to do, and Dominic, I mean, you're in an elevator, maybe you're on your way to pick up the kids, somebody you've never met gets in beside you, you're thinking about what you're going to have for dinner or where you left your car keys, and this person is all of a sudden giving you 90 seconds of pre-prepared spiel about why you should invest in their company. You're out of that door as quickly as you can. You're not even looking at this person again. So it's a bad idea. Unless you're invited to give an elevator pitch, you should never use one, frankly. What we talk about instead is having a conversation about that is based upon your who and do what statement. Now, your who and do what statement is part of the Book Yourself Solid's foundational components. So Book Yourself Solid is a business growth system. It's a system that you work through systematically. You start with module 1, you move to module 2, you move to module 3. You do some work in identifying your target market and identifying the single biggest result that you give to them. When you've done identification of the target market, you can understand their needs and desires. And obviously, if your target market is commercial landlords, then their needs and desires are going to be very different from first-time home owners. Right. So you're going to choose who you're going to be working with. Could there be some overlap there? Sure. Could your target market be geographical instead of perhaps property type? Sure, of course it could. But you're going to choose a clearly defined target market that have a group of common concerns, issues, and pre-existing networks of communication that we can hijack or exploit. So if it's a homeowners association, for example, or everybody who owns a condo in a particular block, let's say you've got one of those great big blocks in New York City where you've got a condo owners association of maybe 150 people, that's a great target market, because the chances are if you pick up work for somebody on floor 7, you're likely to be referred to somebody on floor 11, and then you're likely to be referred to somebody on floor 12 as well. So to go to 30 or 50 or 120 different blocks, well, that dilutes your marketing effort because you don't get to show up multiple times. So the smaller and tighter the target market, the better. When you've got the target market very clear, then you identify the single biggest result you give them. Now, if you work in the construction industry, it's super simple. We don't have to talk in marketing talk. You can say, I build safe and secure staircases, or I install HVAC installations that are guaranteed to last for 25 years. Everybody immediately understands why that is of benefit, and you're going to find different ways of doing it. So then we have a who and do what statement, which is I help owners of New York condos reduce their heating bills by 20%. That's the single biggest result that you give them. And they say, oh, what, are you a magician? You say, no, I'm an HVAC guy, right?
Yeah.
But we don't lead with the label, right?
We don't lead with the label that I'm an HVAC specialist or technician.
We don't lead with that. We don't hide it, but we don't lead with it. And the reason that we don't lead with it is because no matter what your label is, it comes with baggage. Oh. Everybody has an opinion about your industry based upon their previous experience of dealing with your colleagues and your competitors. Oh, right? Good. So let's say you're a lawyer. Let's go outside of the industry. If you're a lawyer and you meet somebody at a cocktail party or at a barbecue or something like that, and they say, what do you do for a living? And you say, I'm a lawyer. I'm immediately thinking about my wife's divorce lawyer who took me for everything I had. Yeah. Right? If you say I'm a traffic cop, I'm immediately thinking about the unfair speeding fines that I've received. If you say I'm a personal trainer, I'm immediately thinking about either the ugly 5 a.m. starts that I had to do, or the fact that I pulled my glutes when I was doing a deadlift and I couldn't walk up the ladder for 3 weeks and it put me out of action, right? So instead, we don't hide it, but we don't lead with it. We want to control the way that people think about us. Ah, okay. So we can say, I'm super proud. I get to work with people who own large, lakeside villas, build beautiful decks for entertaining their family. That's interesting.
Now you've got my attention, and everybody living in Minnesota or Florida just qualified to be a...
And you've controlled the narrative, and that immediately directs them how to ask the next question or what to talk to you about. It doesn't mean they're going to necessarily be interested, but what we've done is we've opened up the opportunity for them to ask us about our beautiful deck installations or something like that. You see what I mean? Right. Rather than just saying, I'm in construction.
Yeah, I do roofing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, why would you say that? Yeah. Why would you say that when you have the opportunity to? You don't have to go too far with it. You don't have to go too far with it. You don't have to. If you are a carpet cleaner, you don't have to talk about, I help people make their homes 90% more healthy for asthmatic children. That might be interesting if you know that you're talking to a parent of an asthmatic child. But generally, you can say, I help people who have lots of carpets make their homes cleaner and healthier and happier. Well, that sounds interesting. How do you do that?
So 2 things that I've noticed in your approach. One is that you talk about helping. I help. Yeah. And so that's nice because you're not being overt in saying, you're not trying to sell anything. I just help people. But the other thing that I've noticed that you're doing is talking about the benefit of the thing that I make, install, repair, demolish, etc. Whatever I do in construction or trades. I loved your example of the villas who build decks for entertaining. You could stop at for deck. I help them have decks for entertaining their guests. And immediately you take me beyond having a deck to having a party, to having a barbecue, to having people over. And I suddenly see the benefit.
Yeah, because we have various versions of this. We have the short version, the medium version, the long version. And the long version is, we can just keep going with this. Once we identify the needs and the desires, we can also identify the frustrations and the pains. And we can talk about the single biggest result, but we can also talk about the financial, emotional, physical, spiritual benefits of having a deck. So let's take another example from your industry. Let's say that you're a turnkey general contractor. You're a project manager. You're moving into a new house. You're doing a renovation. And you know that you're going to have to get plasterers and plumbers and carpenters and all the people, right? You're going to electricians. You're going to have to get them all in, and you've never done this before, and it's kind of daunting, or you have done it before and you know how daunting it is. So let's say that your job is you are a project manager and you oversee all of this. In Malta, where I live, we call them turnkey contractors, general contractors. They take care of the entire operation. So you might say, when someone says, what do you do for a living? If we're going to use the long version of how to talk about what you do, you might say, well, when new homeowners are doing big renovation projects, and the person is going to say, yeah, I've done that a couple of times. Or I watched my brother do one of those. Well, you know how stressful it is? Yeah, I've seen how stressful, and you know how these projects always run over time and over budget.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. And people end up living in hotels and they have to pay for hotels and the kids get their schools disrupted. I've seen people lose sleep. I've seen people's health deteriorate when they're trying to oversee. Oh, I know. Yeah, I've seen it. It's a terrible, terrible situation. Well, I am on a mission to help people have a better experience through that. What do you mean? Well, I provide services that help people manage the entire home renovation process from idea to execution with zero stress, with zero paperwork. They don't even have to do a site visit. Oh, that sounds
like
fantastic.
A dream.
And so what happens when you do that is it gets done under time and under budget. And people don't believe me when I tell them, wow, this sounds fantastic. Listen, can I take your card? You see, so we have a way when we truly understand the impact that we have on people's lives, it makes talking about what we do so much easier.
Yeah. There's a few places, Matthew, that I want to draw this. I want to put this into people's lives as best we can, because we're making a lot of assumptions here. But one of the things that happens is, let's say I'm a kitchen remodeler, kitchen and bath remodeler, and I'm in the home and I'm meeting the wife because she's the one who's been making the decision and leading the decision. And it's not a great sales situation because all the decision makers aren't there. The husband comes in, he's a half hour late because he's just come in from work. He sees me sitting at the table. He's like, I don't want to do this now. I just want to relax. Well, now we've got a sales situation that's interrupted. And the wife says, honey, this is Dominic. Dominic, can you tell him what you do? That's a great time for me to do the short value proposition that you just talked about. Or the long, I can feel out the conversation, but I might have to restart a sales process when a new decision maker comes in or an influencer comes in that I hadn't expected. That's one place that I can see this being used. The other one is when you're talking to the bank, or when you're doing a credit application for a new supplier, or somebody who you need as a vendor who you have to get your message across to them and let them know you're a serious player who deserves maximum discount.
Absolutely right. It has so many applications, and the beauty of it is so many people struggle with sales conversations because they don't know how to get into them. It's not that the sales conversation itself is necessarily tricky. It's how do we switch the conversation to being a friendly one, or one that's based upon, let's say, again, you're at a barbecue and you're having a chat with someone and it turns out, hey, they could actually be they could be a great target market. They've just told you that they're doing a renovation project. And how do you pitch them without making them run away or without changing the nature of the relationship?
You mean following them around the barbecue for the whole day, for the whole night is not the right way to go?
Right. It's like the life insurance person at the funeral wake. It's like, hey, this guy didn't have insurance. What about you? Yeah,
you're right.
It's a much neater opportunity for you to just gently introduce what you do and steer the conversation towards the fact that, hey, I help people like you.
I love it. So when contractors are using a system like this, does it have to be written down? One of the things that I've learned is that your system has a short, a medium, and a long version. And there's actually a workbook, which I really like that workbook. It's fill in the blanks. How do people typically learn this? Do they have to change the way they talk, or how can I learn this stuff?
Well, I think like anything, repetition is the key. Is it the Marines who say you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back on your training? You just train yourself. You train yourself to remember that there is a very simple structure. The other thing that we have in Book Yourself Solid, which might be very instructive to anybody listening to this, is the super simple sales conversation. It's when somebody is describing a problem that they're facing. And this would be not a stranger. You can use your who and do what statement or how to talk about what you do practice with strangers. But let's say you've got somebody in front of you who's definitely a prospect for you because they've called you up from a local directory, or you've had a referral from an existing client or something like that. We have a very simple 4-part sales conversation that we insist you commit to memory, because when you commit it to memory, you can just cycle it out over and over and over again. You don't have to learn anything new. You don't have to learn any new tricks. It doesn't close the deal, but it gets you to talking about pricing immediately. And it works like this. I would say to you, Dominic, what are you hoping to achieve? Or what is it that you want? Or so tell me, what's the spec? And you say, well, I want a large pool in the back garden. I say, okay, so why? That's the next question. Why? Why is it important to you? Why do you want a pool? What's the deal? And what we're asking them to do here is future pace. We're asking them to move forward to a time when they have this thing. I want a beautiful wallpapering of my nursery. I want a pool in the back garden. I want a beautiful deck. Oh, because, we're expecting grandkids and we'd love them to spend as much time possible here as here. And so a large pool where they can spend the summers.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So you want a big pool, right? And I guess you want somebody to help you build that pool. Yeah, for sure. Well, how would you like that person to be me? Because I build pools and this would be a dream project for me. And they say, well, that's interesting. How would it work? How much would it cost? And all of a sudden you're allowed to jump in there and start explaining prices, estimates, measurements. Right. Let me send the boys around. We can take some measurements. Yeah. So the 4-part formula is, what do you want? Yeah. Why do you want it? Do you want some help getting it? Do you want me to be the person who helps you get it? And it doesn't mean that you close the deal. It just means that you have permission to talk about pricing. You can fast forward through all of the faff and nonsense and small talk and just go straight to, let's talk about selling.
So let me paint a picture inside the world of the contractor, especially contractors who have taken a phone call, gotten an email, and then driven out to somebody's home to do the estimate, and the person's moderately interested. The decision makers aren't there. It's just a horrible waste of time. And you've ended up leaving, you had to rush leaving your kids at music recital or dance practice or football or soccer. You've left your family and you've gone and wasted time in an evening. This script that you just talked about, what do you want? Why do you want it? Do you want help? And do you want me to be the person? I can do that by phone.
Yeah.
As a way to pre-qualify Mr. Kimberley before I even come out and see you. And it's also a great way to bracket the pricing expectations. You want me to be the person, and then we get into the conversation of how much budget, when do you need this done, all of those things before I leave my office and invest my time and burn my gas and windshield time to come and see you. If you wanted a hot tub and not a pool, very different budgets.
Exactly right. And I would always give an idea of pricing ahead of getting into my van and driving out 90 minutes to meet someone. Always. Because if it's a hell no, you've just saved yourself a 4-hour round trip.
Yeah. Well, and I believe in bracketing. When we're talking about pricing, I can't tell you the price because I don't know. And they'll say, what do you mean you don't know? I say, well, I don't know enough. But here's what I do know. I know how to look at site conditions, do the excavations, make sure it's shored properly, all the things you need to do for a pool. And then we know that a pool is going to come in around X and Y. Where in that range are you most comfortable? And they'll say their number. I'll say, okay, so you're looking for like a moderate, medium pool. You're not looking for a statement in a grand home. I haven't seen your home yet, but are you looking for a statement for entertaining, or are you just looking for something? Oh, no. We want a statement pool. Oh, okay, sorry. Well, then I'll bracket again. So you wanted between Y and Z? And they're like, yeah, closer to middle Y and Z. Okay, great. Now I'll come out and see you.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I love that. And I've seen in every industry, people wasting time sending out proposals to unqualified prospects. If you can get somebody to tell you what they want and that they want you ahead of time.
And that they want to spend money to have it.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Matthew, this has been fantastic. A lot of value here, a lot of scripting in such a short time. You're a wealth of knowledge and obviously very comfortable with these kinds of conversations. If somebody wants to keep that conversation going or find out more about you or learn about the system, how would we do that?
I think the best place in this instance, you can find me all over the place. I'm MatthewKimberley.com. I'm DelightfulEmails.com. I'm TheSchoolForSelling.com. Marketingforcoaches.com is where I train the trainer. But where I would go, if you're listening to this and you're interested in how to apply the Book Yourself Solid system to your business, I would go to bookyourselfsolid.com, bookyourselfsolid.com. Enter your name into one of the boxes there, and we'll give you access to our free masterclass, which is 4 hours of training on the Book Yourself Solid system.
Oh, how nice. I didn't know about that. Thank you for doing that. That's great. Mr. Kimberley, thank you very much for joining us here. I love it. Matthew, it's so much fun to talk to you because I do feel like your accent has made me feel more refined and focused. But all BS aside, your scripting's spot on. It's excellent. It's excellent.
Well,
I've been using it for years.
I
love it.
I will sing this system for the rest. It's been a decade already. I think I've probably got another couple of decades left in me. I'll be singing from the same hymn sheet for the rest of my life, I'm sure.
All right, Matthew, maybe we'll have you back on the show in the future. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.